10. Daffy, the movie review is not over. We sort of rushed it. I'm sorry, it's just we were running out of camera storage. Well, that's why we're gonna make a part 2. So, we're gonna continue on Spider-Man Homecoming spoiler review part 2. Okay, since we sort of talk a little bit of spoilers of the final battle, can we talk about that Washington, D.C. monument scene? Oh yeah, I do pretty much enjoy that one. Yeah, when Spider-Man first encountered with the Vulture, there is this truck that has Chitauri weapons, which are the same weapons from the first Avengers film with Loki's alien army. And turns out he just got stuck in there until then Peter and Ned decided to hack the suit and decide to disobey Tony Stark's rules from staying close to the ground. You know that. And then possibly in one of the trailers, Peter Parker has an artificial intelligence, as in a voice that is communicated in your suit.
Finally, here we go. Good evening, Peter. We have 576 possible web shooter combinations.
So it's usually like the Iron Spider suits, but this time it's more like its modern take on it. And of course, Peter decided to call her Suit Lady just because he doesn't know how to give her name, but of course she's mostly like a companion inside Spider-Man's suit. I mean, she could research on the villains from where they're heading. She could tell us you have over upgrades and of course possible web shooters that you can use. And she even communicates with him, like she understands him. When Peter was talking to him about Liz, of course the Karen, yeah, Peter decided to give her a name. Of course, she was useful and helpful, but she was also kind of flirty. Like when Peter's like, oh, Liz is such an amazing person, and of course, if I tell her my secret identity, I don't know what her reaction is. And then Karen just whispers, if I were her, I wouldn't be disappointed. Wow, that's kind of weird. Oh yeah, speaking of which, since Peter has a crush on Liz, turns out Liz has a crush on Spider-Man as well. Yeah, that scene was taking place at the gym. It was during the gym scene which we see Captain America's cameo as the PSA government videotapes, as in to learn how to exercise and be more responsible. Oh yeah, speaking of Captain America's, of course, cameos in the film was actually pretty hilarious. I mean, wow, I can't believe I'm seeing Captain America's comedic side besides Thor when he was on the PSAs, such as, of course, here is your PE coach, and of course, he was pointing to the left on the TV screen while the actual coach is on the right of the TV, but Cap is not pointing to the right, so I actually found this pretty kind of funny. And the coach just called Captain America a war criminal. Looks like he's on Team Iron Man for sure. Yeah, and about that, especially when, of course, when Liz is talking to her friends that she has a big crush on Spider-Man on YouTube, since, of course, Peter Parker usually records himself in his Spider-Man suit. Even in the beginning of the film, you probably might see it in the international trailer where So, in Civil War, he was usually filming himself on YouTube when he was on the airport battle, which was pretty fun and interesting to watch from his experience with the Avengers during the airport battle in Germany in Captain America Civil War. Including Happy Hogan, which is Tony Stark's assistant. We haven't seen him since Iron Man 3, but it's good to have him back. But he usually feels a noise when Peter gets excited for his new suit and experiencing over Germany. And Peter was quietly recording him while he was sleeping. Ah, man. This was hilarious. And he pretty much loved the suit since the suit has a lot of tech features. And of course, this movie does respect the original comics, like Spider-Man does have these features in his suit, such as the web wings, the spider tracer tracking system, the web grenade, the spider drone, and so many more. And of course, there are some characters that have small roles, but some of them have great lines, including Zendaya's character Michelle. And some of you may be thinking, oh, she's playing Mary Jane Watson, if you are a Spider-Man fan or a comic book fan or whatever type of fan you are. I'm a ceiling fan. Nobody asked you. But like I said, she's barely in the movie, but she really has some great lines. Including that final line by the ending of the movie, which was, my friends call me MJ. And I was like, aha, I see what you did there. When you think she is MJ, she's not like that MJ. Her name is actually Michelle Jones, but if you do for short, it's MJ. So she's 100% an original character, nothing at all from the comics. It's just that, like what they said, they just want to do something different in Spider-Man movies. So this is more like the MCU version of MJ. Even though she barely has that much screen time, but I say that she's a good character because she's not a role model kind of like the actual Zendaya in real life, but she's more like a wild card. Of course, she's not that social, and she mostly is a loner at times. And of course, there are some of the times where she actually wants friends and needs friends, but she's like, nah, I'm cool with that. Including during in detention. Once again, when Peter is watching another Captain America PSA video, like, oh, so you got detention, you got in trouble. And of course, the coach was telling Michelle, like, hey, what are you doing here? You're not in detention. But she's like, nah, I just like writing sketches of people's sad face. And of course, she just draw the sad coach's face. Ah, oh, man. This movie's hilarious. And she might be a future love interest to Peter because, sadly for Liz Allen, Peter actually broke his promise on her. Yeah, after that whole talk with Peter in the Vulture, and of course Vulture's realizing that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, which was very smart of him, since it turns out that Vulture is the father of Liz Allen. And of course Peter decided to go to the homecoming dance, but he decided to leave her so Peter will not be in danger. And if you're thinking this photo where we see Peter and Liz kissing, that did not happen in the movie. Yup, sometimes trailers can give you lies. Until then, they show scenes of the trailers that are not eventually in the final cut of the film. So after that, Liz is just leaving off to graduation. And of course, she was crying sad that Peter broke his promise. And of course, the Vulture actually ended up in jail because the smart thing, okay, when Daffy mentioned in part 1 where the Vulture doesn't die in part 1, here is how he did not die like other Spider-Man villains or other MCU villains. We actually saw Spider-Man Homecoming in a 4DX theater where the chairs moves and you feel the air and the water, and of course you can feel like when it kind of feels like that you actually are Spider-Man beating the crap out of Vulture. Especially in the theater when, of course, when I was sitting down, when the 4D stuff was done, when the chair stopped moving, I yelled down the theater, I yelled out, oh wow, that was sexy. And of course there was a couple of girls who laughed in the back, like a few rows back, and they started laughing when I yelled out, oh, that was sexy, after that 4D experience. Yeah, including that plane scene where Vulture went inside the plane that has full of new Avengers weapons that are used for Infinity War, when Happy Hogan was telling Tony Stark on the phone that there's a new armor for Iron Man, a new prototype for S.H.I.E.L.D., and Thor's magical belt. And Vulture still wants to steal those weapons. But when Vulture was having a chat from why is he trying to steal these Avengers weapons, of course, he just trapped Peter under a pile of rocks until he's escaped off to get into the plane and steal the weapons that the Avengers will use for Infinity War. But like I said, when Peter was under the rocks, painfully crying for help, Tom Holland did a great acting performance, and he looks in his Spider-Man mask in his reflection, and we hear Tony Stark's conscious in the head, like, if you're nothing about this suit, you shouldn't have it. And of course, Peter understands, like, if you want to be an Avenger, if you're nothing about this suit, you shouldn't have it. Peter just wants to discover himself that he is still strong, and then he yells out, come on, Spider-Man, to himself, and I literally almost cried. Because that was one of the most emotional scenes in the movie that I experienced. Until then, he fights off the Vulture in that plane sequence, especially in the 4D ride. I do feel like I was getting hurt and going to crash land. And of course, since we were talking about the Vulture not dying, of course his wings were malfunctioning during the plane crash, and he was stealing the box full of the Avengers weapons. Peter was warning him like his wings were about to explode and he was trying to save his life. Until then, Vulture's wings exploded and it was on the ground, and Peter decided to save him through the fire. I'm like, wow, what a true hero right there. Until then, Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, just came back home and congratulated Peter and decided to bring him a gift. A brand new Spider-Man suit, and I was like, oh my gosh. It looks exactly like the Iron Spider suit and the all-new, all-different Spider-Man costume, but it looks amazing. But, okay, there's the next thing that pretty got me upset, but I understand it was Peter's decision. He was completely in character, but it really just irritated me. Okay. When, of course, Tony gave him the offer to become an Avenger, and of course that was Peter's goal, to become an Avenger like them, and decided to give him a new suit. Peter decides to deny it, and denies the suit, and he's like, I'll just be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And of course, in the theater, I literally shot like, whoa, he finally said the line. I mean, Tony Stark did say that to be just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I was like, nah, I'd rather hear Peter say it. And I really got excited when he actually said it. But until then, when he denied to use that suit, he just walked away. And turns out we see Pepper Potts, which is Tony Stark's girlfriend from the Iron Man films. And we haven't seen her since Iron Man 3. But until then, when Happy Hogan pulled out the ring with Tony and Pepper was like, where's the kid? He's supposed to be here. Because there was a full crowd of people about to congratulate Peter to become an Avenger in that suit. But when Happy Hogan pulled out the ring, says, I've been holding this since 2008, Tony and Pepper finally kissed. I was like, yes, finally they're going to get married, even though they've been dating for like 9 years. Exactly, they should get married by now. And, of course, after that, this is why I don't understand. He is going to wear that suit in Avengers Infinity War, so what was the point for denying that suit in the first place if he's going to wear it? And speaking of which, we don't really see his spider sense, which are his senses in his mind that senses danger around him. How come that wasn't in the movie? Well, in Avengers Infinity War, he will have spider sense. Then how come Homecoming they did not show that? Nah, they rather just showed the suit than the powers. So then we get to the final scene of the movie, and to me it's one of the most funniest scenes ever. When Peter Parker wore his suit, which is the suit that he usually wears, which is the same old one, not the homemade one, the one that you see from Civil War, the one that you see from the entire movie. When he puts it on, when his Aunt May, which is aka Aunt Hottie, a lot of people were kind of flirting with her like she is a hot aunt. But speaking of which, when he opens the door, when Aunt May realizes when Peter Parker is Spider-Man, she yells out, what the fuck? Well, she didn't say the complete curse word, she only says "fuh," and then the credits just roll down. And I laughed my butt off after that. I know, Disney and Marvel, you're trying your best not to make a lot of curse words, keeping your movies PG-13, but they're trying their best to say rated R language, but they decide to cut it out. And plus, yeah, there were some pretty crude humor. If those of you check out the Penis Parker's YouTube poops, well, guess what? Flash Thompson in this movie calls Peter Parker Penis Parker. Yeah, including Tony Ravallo as Flash Thompson. When I first look at him, I was like, nah, he looks too nice to play Flash. Of course, the reason why I like this movie is because it's diversity, like it's with different races. And of course, Flash is Indian in the movie. But turns out I actually like his performance as Flash Thompson because he's not your stereotypical big, muscular, strong jock football player, bully who usually beats you up. He's like, oh, I'm just going to annoy you and mess with you. Including when Flash was driving with his girlfriend on the car during all the way to the homecoming dance, Spider-Man was wearing his homemade costume and he was doing his Batman voice where he's like, I need to take your car. And he pretty much ruined his car and Flash was so surprised. That was comedy gold. And don't forget the Stan Lee cameos. Yes, there is a Stan Lee cameo. And of course, the opening sequence when Peter just got out of school and dressed up as Spider-Man fighting crime. They were playing this song. Goes, hey, oh, let's go. Hey, oh, let's go. That was playing in the credits as well. But of course, it shows Spider-Man being your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man facing the crime. And some people were getting mad at him because he sometimes screw up at things. Some people like him. And Stan Lee's cameo, he came out from the window. It's like, don't make me come out there. And there's this other woman from the other apartment. Like, hey, Gary, how's it doing? And Stan Lee's like, nice. How's your mother? So other than that, Spider-Man Homecoming is a great Spider-Man movie. And so far, this is my favorite Spider-Man movie. Like, my top 6 Spider-Man movies will be Spider-Man Homecoming's in first place, then Spider-Man 2, the first Spider-Man film, The Amazing Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then Spider-Man 3. Those are my top from 1 to 6. Nah, I still say I like Spider-Man 2 more. Come on, I like Spider-Man Homecoming. To me, it beats Spider-Man 2. Oh yeah, make sure you stay after the credits. I mean, the first post-credit scene has to do with a new villain, aka the Scorpion, asking the Vulture, since he's about to go out of prison, it's like, I heard rumors that you know who Spider-Man is, but he decided to play dumb like, I don't know what you're talking about. If I know who he was, he'll be dead already. The reason why he wants to keep his identity secret since Peter saved his life. And the final post-credit scene is the best post-credit scene with Captain America teaching us about patience, and you're expecting, you are expecting another teaser for our next movie? I can't believe you've been waiting something for so disappointing. And then he tells to the crew, how many more of these? That was pretty clever. So that was our movie review of Spider-Man Homecoming. That's all, folks. Bye. Yeah, bye.